Man, tough L tonight, Laker fan against the Raptors, man. The Raptors coaching staff pretty much outcoached the Lakers coaching staff. The Lakers couldn't sustain an offensive flow, and they never adjusted to AD being doubled and LeBron James, particularly AD. You know, Laurie and Anunoby, they took it to the Lakers. They couldn't respond, resulting in a 107-92 loss. Welcome to the Lake Show podcast. Man, I'm obviously pissed off. I know you guys are as well after, getting a good win against the Clippers and then coming out flat against the Raptors, man. Just unacceptable, particularly in the fashion that they did it in. And I'm going to get into that. So welcome to the Lake Show podcast. I'm going to give my game recap and my 5 takeaways for this game, man. And I'm going to rip on Danny Green, so beware of that. Man, how many fucking shots that are wide open, bro, that you're going to miss? I lost my patience with him, and I'm sure you guys have as well. It is what it is, but before I began my rip on Danny Green and getting into this game, man. Oh boy, if it's your first time to the channel and you value a different flavor of Laker content on the tube, that's objective, rational, that's logical, as well as I'm biased and substantive content from a student of the game's perspective. And if you're a Laker enthusiast, as I am, then you come to the right channel. Consider subscribing. For those of you who are already subbed to this channel, switch that notification bell to get alerts on the videos that I drop. Lastly, if you want to support my content and you're willing and able to do so, the best way to do so will be to shop through my Amazon affiliate link, as I'll use those proceeds to improve the quality of this channel for you guys. The link will be in the description. Now let's get on to my game recap and my 5 game takeaways for this game against the Raptors, man. So the first quarter, the Lakers started out very slow offensively, man. The Raptors took it to us to start. It was 13-0, and then the Lakers scored later on, probably 3 minutes later to 4 minutes later. And then later on in the quarter, like around a 4-minute mark or something like that, or the 5-minute mark, they subbed in Kyle Kuzma, and then the Lakers went on a 5-0 run, cutting the deficit to within 5, 15-10. Lakers once trailed 11 in the first quarter. That's as much as they trailed pretty much throughout this game. And they cut the deficit to within 2, 23-21. The bench came in and gave the Lakers a much-needed boost, man. The starters weren't doing their job, straight up. Particularly AD and LeBron. They were just kind of passive. They're being over-passive this game. And I credit the Raptors' defense, don't get me wrong, but I thought the Lakers were passing up some open shots. But, the bench came in, like I said, and gave Lakers a scoring boost. Was it 21-10 run they went on behind Kyle Kuzma. Lakers 13 bench points. Kyle Kuzma was 7 on those 13 bench points. It was good to see. I think AD and LeBron had 8 points, so the bench outscored him. But it was good to see him play confidently and assert himself for the stretches of games that he had. So he's been a little more consistent, because consistency has been the issue with Kyle Kuzma. But it was good to see him have that confidence. And then credit the Raptors defense, their defensive schemes, man, to double AD, force the ball out of his hands, force other Laker players to beat the Lakers offensively and not allow AD to get in the group, same with LeBron James. I urge AD to be in a face-up game, Laker fan, because he's able to discern things, see the floor more entirely, as opposed to his back to the basket. He's gonna turn into the defense, try to fade away shot like he usually does, but he's playing face-up. It allows him to read and react better and see the floor as a whole. And then on top of that, he can make a quicker move. So it'll be just better for him. He's not backing into the defense and then turning, and then Kyle Lowry or somebody like that is going for the steal for Fred VanVleet, et cetera, et cetera. But he has to play more a face-up game. And then on top of that, he tends to hold on to the ball too long, giving the defense an opportunity to double him or collapse on him. He has to make quicker moves and react quicker. Because if he's holding the ball long enough for him to recover, it's just going to allow them to get into their defensive schematics, and it's going to fuck up the entire offensive flow for the Lakers. And then AD is not going to be able to get into things. But if he's going quick and forcing the issue, he may draw some fouls, as he did later on within this game. I thought Markieff Morris did a good job showing active hands in the second quarter when he had some take this game. Also showing good positional defense, not allowing Ibaka to back him down or anything like that. Getting some steals, and then still led to Kyle Kuzma being fouled and getting to the free throw line, and then an exchange of buckets between the Lakers and the Raptors, which was Powell driving to the rim, and then Deion Waiters with the crossover breaking down the defense early in transition, going to the rim, and then tying the game up in the second quarter early in the second quarter, 25-25 at that time. And then Waiters gets the Lakers are firstly with a 3-point shot in the right corner, 28-27. Lakers coaching staff have to do a better job in terms of initiating some actual fucking offense. I mean, it can't be just, stand around, watch AD and LBJ go to work. It doesn't work that way against elite teams, man, that are nuanced, that have better defensive schematics, high-level scouting reports like the Raptors do. Even if they don't have a superstar in Kawhi Leonard, they're still a pretty damn good team, man. But, AD, I think, to start this game had 0 points, maybe even 1 point. I'm not even sure, but LBJ had 5 points about when the second quarter came and start from their slow start offensively, man. It's just overall, again, the Lakers coaching staff got outcoached and they never made adjustments. Once again, the media could downplay the depth of the Lakers, but they were the ones who held the Lakers up in this game, man, which was one of their worst offensive games and shooting games overall this season. I believe they shot like 25% from three, man. They were 10 for 40, a whopping 10 for 40, man, because they can't hit open fucking jump shots. It is what it is, but the media could downplay the depth of the Lakers bench. They're pretty deep, and they kept them in this game. They gave them a fighting chance, so shout out to the bench, because the starters weren't holding up to par, man. But Lowry has been solid for the Raptors up to this point in the game with 11 points, showing good defensive ball pressuring, scoring with confidence. I tell you, man, the best thing that happened for Kyle Lowry, in my opinion, was the fact that his best friend, DeMar DeRozan, got traded, man. They, them being goofballs, not taking shit serious, their conditioning. Even Kyle Lowry was up in weight. But I think it was the best thing for him, DeMar DeRozan, to be traded for Kawhi Leonard. Leonard helped Lowry grow as a player. And, his leadership and overall skill set has improved greatly. He's showing a great commitment to his weight management. He's cut down. He really trimmed up. Looks better as one of the best, better guards in the NBA, man. Kyle Lowry, with all the respect, used to nut up. I was hard on him, but hell, he's making a believer out of me, I guess, because he's really put in the work. I used to criticize him heavily. Same thing with DeMar DeRozan, because they would constantly nut up and they were very mentally fragile. I think Kawhi Leonard's imprint on that team, man, has changed the mental psyche and makeup of that team. And then you have a great top 3 head coach in Nick Nurse, man. So Raptor fans, whoever watched this, or basketball fans, should be happy. That team's going to be, they're one all-star away from being elite. And it could be somebody like Brandon Ingram, in my opinion. But that's my perspective. Like I said earlier, I would highly consider going there if I was Brandon Ingram. But, he helped him grow as a player, Kawhi Leonard. When you're around greatness, man, and, you've lost so many times to LeBron and whoever, you couldn't get far. And you had a pretty good record, won 60 games, whatever, under Dwayne Casey, and you can't get over the hump. You're gonna look to somebody else who has, and Kawhi Leonard was that for that saving grace, so to speak, for Kyle Lowry. But he was very impactful in the first half, very disruptive this whole game, man, very active, chatty. I appreciate players' tenacious spirit, man, and that's what Kyle Lowry has. He's a dog, man. So I respect players like that, and their moxie, their mental makeup. So shout out to him, man. He's really improved as a leader and a player overall. But with AD being, double and LBJ in the post, or when, they get close to the basket, Danny Green, man. Danny Green has missed wide the fuck open shots after shot this entire season, man. And it's been atrocious to watch, man. It's been atrocious to fucking watch, Danny Green. You got to step it up, bro. You're getting paid $15 million, bro, and you can't hit a fucking open jump shot. The brother has to sit straight up. It might be best for him to come off the bench, but I may have hope for him in the playoffs because he's a different player. But this is a lack of nuance too. The Lakers don't move the ball side to side. They don't move it around. They have no consistent offensive structure. And what Rajon Rondo also is missed in that aspect, because he gets things quarterbacking, he gets things moving, he gets players in the right position. LeBron James doesn't necessarily do that, man. He holds them to the ball longer, and then it's this pick and roll shit, and he's trying to get the big switch. It's the LBJ system. It's not going to work against elite, high IQ, nuanced teams. It's not going to work. I'm just telling y'all. We've seen this episode again. For those of you who know ball, it's not going to work. It is what it is. But, it might be best for Danny Green to come off the bench. But the Lakers failed to consistently hit open jump shots. And when the D doubled down on AD or LeBron James, it's their job to hit open jump shots. This is going to be a very key element for the Lakers to hit open jump shots come the playoffs, because teams They're not going to just allow AD and LeBron James to kill him one-on-one. They're not. They're not. They're going to keep the D honest, and they're going to force other players to beat him. So, Danny Green 0 for 5, a fucking bagel, man, a bagel from shooting from the field, wide open. That's unacceptable, man. It's unacceptable. Get your shit together, bro. Straight up. Ball movement and body movement with AD and LBJ, getting doubled. The Lakers have to alleviate pressure. They can't depend on AD and LBJ to bail them out offensively. The coaching staff can't do it. They did a piss poor job trying to create an offensive flow and cohesion, man. They lack structure. They lack nuance to their offense. Again and again and again. This is not going to work against high IQ basketball teams. I've seen this episode many times when LBJ tries to play his system, get the big to come out, screen, get a switch on a little guy, whatever it is. It's not going to work like that all the time. It's going to work in the regular season, but against teams with a higher basketball IQ, more nuanced defensively, higher scouting reports such as the Raptors, teams like that, Boston as well with Brad Stevens, assuming they make it to the finals. The Clippers, of course, as well. The Bucks, teams like that. They're not going to allow the Lakers to beat them one-on-one. They're not. So the Lakers coaching staff has to adjust and actually have some fucking structure to their offense so that every player is getting involved, touching the ball. And there's actually offensive cohesion because players that I know are rhythm players on this team is Kyle Kuzma, Danny Green, Quinn Cook, players like that. They're not just stand still, knockdown shooters. That's not really their type of style. Danny Green, I'm not trying to make an excuse for him, but he would be a better shooter if he's coming off of ball curls or, to get him open so he could shoot the shot on the movement. He's been good at that. He's done that in Toronto. He's done that in San Antonio, rather. That's how they have to play some players like that. They can't just have them stand still. They're not going to get any rhythm. So, they need to cut, pass, and screen away. Basic principles of basketball, man, to keep the defense not relaxed and to keep them moving. If you're constantly moving, you're going to be harder to guard. It's really that simple. But Lakers, did a better job defensively in the second quarter, keeping the Raptors at 34% shooting from the field. After a good start for the Raptors, man, was it 13-2 to start the game? Raptors, they're top 2 in defense. They held the Lakers to 38% shooting. So this is a case of a game of two good defensive teams. It was just a matter of who was going to get in a larger run, as a game is about runs. But good two defensive teams playing great defense. So this was likely going to be, a low-scoring affair. And then whoever broke out. Most games run at about 120, man. So I get tired of seeing lack of defense in the games and, players dribbling the fucking ball 100 times between their legs, easing into offense. Nobody plays defense. Everybody wants to jack up shots, man, and just play offense. So it's nice to see. But, the Lakers bench came through with 31 points in the first half after a slow start to this game. Lakers starters in the first half had 13 points. LBJ and AD, a combined total for a whopping 8 points, man. That can't happen. Again, the coaching staff failed them, and they got to do a better job of creating offense for them. They can't just depend on them to create because that's not going to always work. So they have to have some nuance. And, Raptors did a great job doubling AD, and LeBron James not allowing them to, take over this game to start forcing others to beat them. Raptors, I said this before the season started. Don't sleep on them. Well coached, selfless attitude, fundamentally sound. They have a good structure and nuance to their entire system. And Nick Nurse rather is a top five head coach in the entire NBA, in my opinion. Very underrated, and just starting his NBA career as a head coach. But I believe the Raptors, they can come out of the East, in my opinion. I believe they could really come out of the East. If not, then the Eastern Conference Finals and shock a lot of teams, man. I know Kawhi Leonard not being there obviously is a huge loss. But, again, he left a mental makeup of that team, an identity. He created an identity, and they took it on. They are tough. They play hard. They're selfless. They have structure. And Kyle Lowry's leadership has grown because he's seen another leader that has won championships and soaked up like a sponge and was attached to his hip, man. Because with all due respect, his best friend DeMar DeRozan couldn't provide that. It was just it was playing in a sandbox. Now the sandbox is turned upside down once his friend DeMar DeRozan was traded and somebody came in serious like, all right, this is what it's gonna be. Fall in line and maybe you'll get better if you're willing to take on to be under my wing, to go under my tutelage. You'll learn something, and he did. So it's the best thing to happen for him for his career. DeMar DeRozan being traded, his best friend to San Antonio. But like I said, man, don't sleep on them. They're very nuanced. They're good on both sides of the ball, particularly defensively. Like I said, tough mentally, physical, very physical team. They remind me of Laker fam. They remind me, I would say, it was a 2004 championship Detroit Pistons going into 2006, 7, somewhere around there, who was coached under Larry Brown. But Raptors, in my opinion, from being an elite team, I think they're probably one All-Star player away, man. And I mentioned it earlier. If I'm Brandon Ingram, I'm looking to leave New Orleans, especially if Alvin Gentry's the head coach, man. He's got to leave New Orleans, in my opinion. I think he'll be an exceptional fit for him. I think it'll be great for his career if he's in a structured offensive system, and a system that will pair him with somebody who is just as gifted or good on the defensive end as well, and Pascal Siakam. I think he'll be a great fit for him, man. But I digress a little. So, getting back to the Lakers are fortunate to be up 3 at this point in the game in the second quarter, 44-41 going into the second half. Good shit by the bench, man, to give the Lakers a lift. They needed it. The starters pretty much were ass in the first half, but they held it down as the Lakers starters struggled offensively in the first half. Third quarter to start. So Lakers, they force a shot clock violation to begin the third quarter. Excellent defensive effort by the Lakers, man. I like what I was seeing, moving the ball side to side, team rotation on par, and they forced I think it was Kyle Kuzma that was ball pressuring, and then the ball went out of bounds, and they forced a shot clock violation, man. Great job by the Lakers on that sequence there. You love to see a Laker fan. You love to see that effort. And they've been a top team defensively, top 3, man. So it's great to see defensive basketball by the Lakers, because they haven't been great in the past year. So it's good to see them on the defensive end, because we know what they're going to do offensively. Offense has never really necessarily been an issue other than the shooting. But AD, I thought, appeared passive in this game. Seems like when he wasn't getting when he wasn't making shots, or he wasn't getting into a groove, and allowing the defense to swarm him, and the coaching staff as well. I blame them as well. It was getting to him. He was kind of being passive, passing up plenty of open shots when they're moving the ball side to side and keeping the Raptors scrambling. He needs to get aggressive and assert his will in games. As the second best player on his team, that's his job. Can't let teams take him out of the game. He's too damn talented to settle. He has to realize that hey, I got to give my team a lift, man. I got to step up because we're struggling offensively. I like the defensive aspect of this game. Low scoring, like I mentioned earlier, man. Too many 120 point, 140 point games, man. In the NBA where no one fucking plays defense. Cats could walk into their offense with ease. They could take a shit, read a newspaper, and hit a jump shot, man. I mean, these brothers, don't play defense at all, man. But it's just nice to see teams actually play defense and play rugged, tough basketball. They called a lot of ticky-tack calls this game, but in the first half and overall in this game, other than that aspect, I thought it was a good thing to see where cats are actually playing with effort and good defensive energy and physicality in this game. Danny Green, man, once again, continues to be atrocious overall as a shooter. Wide open shots, man, missing over and over again. At this point, he was 0 for 7 in the third quarter. Coach should just sit him down, man. Keep him on the bench, in my opinion. He can't find a shooting stroke. There's no consistency. There hasn't been any consistency from his jump shot this entire season. Just missing open J after open J. I thought J.R. Smith should have got some take. Shit, it wouldn't have hurt because Danny Green wasn't doing anything for us. KCP, by far, has probably been our best consistent shooter at the 2 guard position. Kyle Lowry, man, was big for the Raptors this game. Asserting, was assertive, and he imposed his will in this game. Did a good job with his defensive energy and scoring at will. Big reason why the Raptors went back up, 12 to 13 points at that time in the third quarter, and overall won this game. He's really grown as a player, so props to him. I've been hard on him in my criticism constructively of him, especially pertaining to his weight management. But Caruso and Kuz's defensive effort, I loved this game. Clamps University, man, they were impactful on the defensive end and energy. Kyle Kuzma, once again, shout out to him, moving his feet, showing active hands, not falling for for pump fakes or anything of that nature. He has really improved defensively, and primarily is for something simple, which is just not standing so fucking erected on defense. He's getting more into defensive stances, starting his feet and cutting off angles. They were great. Both of them were great on defense for the Lakers, and were the cause of a lot of runs for the Lakers this game. AD started to assert himself later in the third quarter with 9 points from the free throw line. I think that was the time when the Lakers went small, if I'm not mistaken, which is another huge mistake by Frank Vogel this game, man, not going small to create some offensive flow and space out the floor more with AD at the 5. That's when they're best optimally offensively, is when AD is at the 5 position. But Lakers cut the deficit to I believe from 12 to 13 to 2 points around this time, going into the fourth quarter, 72 to 70. Going into the fourth quarter, man, it was pretty much the Kyle Lowry show and OG Anunoby. They pretty much torched the Lakers, man. They could not contain them, and they led them the Raptors to the win. But LBJ to start the third quarter had a step back three, and the Lakers finally took the lead, 73 to 72 at that time, and then it followed up with another LeBron three shortly after that. I didn't like the fact that Frank Vogel took out LeBron James when he started getting an offensive groove. Like, what are you doing, bro? The game's on the line. That's some Luke Walton shit. You can't afford to make mistakes after mistakes. Fucked up on adjusting to AD being doubled and LeBron James. Then fucked up on not playing AD at the 5 to finish this game to create more spacing and more offensive opportunities. And then you took out LeBron James, man. And that's when the game got away. And then you sub him later in at the 4-minute mark. At that time, the Raptors are on a 7-0 run. They're up 10. So that's when the game got away. So you can't afford to make those mistakes after mistakes. So again, Frank Vogel got exposed and outcoached, in my opinion. You can see AD not happy with Alex Caruso, man. He's got to stop gambling on the defensive end. You can't cheat under a streaky scorer and Kyle Lowry. You can't go under screens and then miss defensive assignment after defensive assignment and then leave him in the corner wide open. This channel is geared towards objectivity and constructive criticism. And I'm going to point out the good things, because I'm not a stan, and I'm also going to point out the bad things. Caruso did later on in the game. He gambled defensively, and he did a piss poor job in terms of his defensive coverage, missing assignments and trying to cheat on defense with Kyle Lowry. And Kyle Lowry torched him for that. So that was poor b-ball IQ by Alex Caruso. Like I said earlier in the game, he did well, but later down the stretch, not so good, man, defensively. And like you can see AD just frustrated with him, talking to him when they went on a 7-0 run, up 10 points, talking to him, telling him you can't do stuff like that, man. You can't cheat. You got to hedge. You got to talk to me defensively. We got to talk together and work things out and stuff like that. But, can't afford to gamble with the game on the line. Can't do that. And too many mistakes, no adjustments. Lakers couldn't contain Lowry nor OG Anunoby, who, pretty much torched them in the fourth quarter and throughout this game pretty much. They also couldn't hit open shots and get a consistent offensive flow. And the Raptors are getting, the whistle a lot too, man. So with all that shit going on, ticky-tack calls, and I hardly complain about the refs. I hardly do, but they're giving a lot of bullshit calls and ticky-tack calls, touch fouls, all that stuff, man, to the Raptors. And you factor that in with missing shots, they weren't able to gain a consistent rhythm. So it is what it is. The Raptors won fair and square, and outplayed the Lakers, and they got out-coached this game. A lesson learned for the Lakers, and especially the coaching staff. But let's get into my 5 takeaways from this game. Number one, man, Danny Green has to be benched. I think I lost my patience, and you guys can sound off in the comment section, man. Let me know who you guys think who should start in this place, or whether you guys are gonna still have faith in him. But I think he has to be benched, man. Again, you can't miss wide open jump shots after wide open jump shots, and you're getting paid $15 million, man, and you can't help open shots rather. What the fuck else are you gonna do? You barely provide any defensive impact. You get guys blowing by you. You reach on defense. You gamble on defense, and all season long you couldn't find your stroke. And we're approaching the playoffs, man. We're approaching crunch time, and you still haven't got shit together. I think him coming off the bench will be less pressure for him. And at this point, the Lakers, they need a starter, a two guard who could hit their shots. And Danny Green isn't that. He's been atrocious, man. He's been absolutely atrocious. It's been it's been tough to watch, nonetheless, man. It's been tough to watch. So I'm ready. I'm ready to see somebody else in his place. Takeaway number two: Coach Vogel got out coached by Nick Nurse. He couldn't adjust for for shit, man. He couldn't adjust for shit. This game to get AD and LeBron James, your two All-Star players, you failed to get them offense. You failed to create things and take pressure off of them. That's just a piss poor job. Laker fam, this is what I tell cats against higher, nuanced, fundamentally sound basketball teams. That one-on-one bullshit, that playground offensive style isn't going to work. The LBJ system is not going to work against higher IQ basketball teams. They have to have offensive sets. They have to have more ball movement, body movement. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's Coach Frank Vogel's job and the coaching staff to make adjustments, and they allowed the Raptors to take AD and LeBron James out of the game, particularly AD, man. He was completely nullified this game. He was MIA. Poor coaching job by Frank Vogel. And then to sub out LeBron James, like I said earlier, in crunch time, when he was getting his offensive, he was getting some offensive cohesiveness going. He was getting into a little bit of a groove after hitting those 3-point shots, and to take him out, and then the Raptors went on a 7-0 run, up 10. Bad coaching, Frank Vogel. Bad coaching, man. And then number three, Lakers really miss Avery Bradley, man. They really miss Avery Bradley. We don't have a two guard who sets the tone defensively, who's tough, who's rugged, who could chase players off of the line, and contest shots, and then stay with them and pressure them 94 feet, play ball and out defense. Avery Bradley is that enforcer that you need, man. A championship needs an enforcer like a Dennis Rodman type. That's what Avery Bradley is for us. He's that type of player. So we're really going to miss him on the defensive end. And also on the offensive end, he's kind of underrated. I mean, against the Clippers last time we played against him on Christmas, he hit open shots as well and kind of got hot, especially when they were running that pick and roll offense and then they were trapping LBJ. He would kick it out to Avery Bradley for three and he would hit open shots. And then when they decided to double on him, Avery Bradley was, or double on LBJ and AD, Avery Bradley was that one player that was hitting shots. So we're really going to miss him. Where is the defensive effort and the ability to mix them up with shots? Where's that going to come from? The only player I can see is KCP, who's been the most consistent shooter for us. Alex Caruso has been inconsistent. Danny Green obviously has been inconsistent. Hopefully J.R. Smith is able to do that, but we don't know. He's not getting enough tick, but I think he will. And then, of course, Deion Waiters. But Deion Waiters is a player that is more off the dribble. He's not a standstill type of shooter. Can he do that? Yes, a little bit. I think he was shot 38% or mid-30s from three was it 2 years ago or so. So he can do that from time to time, but he's more of a rhythm scorer. So, Danny Green has to be benched, and we'll see who takes his place. I'm not sure. Maybe Caruso. We'll see. Maybe even put in Deion Waiters, but I like him off the bench because we need that scoring boost with Kuzma, man. I think it's going to force Kuzma to bring his game up. If he's not the main option on the off the bench, I think that's going to really help Kyle Kuzma, have a sense of urgency and kind of take the pressure off him so that he can ease into things and then focus on other things like his defense, and he's going to be everything else will fall in place basically for Kyle Kuzma if he's focused on those things as opposed to trying to force himself as a third option. But we'll see who rises to the occasion, man, in Danny Green's place and in the absence of Avery Bradley, because man, we're really gonna miss Avery Bradley. And then number four, Lakers lack shooting clearly. Like I said earlier, only consistent shooter probably is gonna be KCP. Who could we really trust to hit open J's? I don't know. That's a huge glaring issue going into the playoffs. Caruso again not consistent. Danny Green not consistent. Kyle Kuzma, kind of has been coming into it, but he's mostly been inconsistent all season long. So again, who is going to be that player or players Whether it's one or two, hopefully, maybe Quinn Cook could get some tick because he could provide a little bit of a lift. He does well in the playoffs as well. But who knows? Those are glaring issues. The shooting, and the Lakers missing Avery Bradley, man. Defensively, not having that defensive enforcer. Those are going to be two issues come playoffs. So the Lakers hopefully have to make adjustments, and hopefully players step up. You look at the shooting, man, from 3 point land. The Lakers were whopping fucking 10 for 40 from three, man. 25%. Their worst shooting game this year. And it showed. Like I said, they got outcoached and they got outplayed. Great defensive effort and overall defensive game plan by the Raptors. Credit them and Coach Nick Nurse. They did a good job. But that's going to be a major issue come playoffs if teams are doubling down on AD and LBJ and players can't hit open jump shots. So they got to get it together. Get it together, fellas. Knock down your open shots, man. And then last takeaway, my fifth takeaway, AD must finish the game at the five position. Lakers are more potent offensively. When they played him earlier at the five position, he was able to get to the free throw line and slow down the game and get easy buckets. Because most bigs are not going to be able to stay with him out in the perimeter. With Dwight or JaVale McGee at the five finishing, that's not going to allow the Lakers to have the floor spacing or the offensive potency. So he has to finish the game at the five because when the Lakers are struggling offensively, when the Lakers are struggling, AD must be at the five position. He has to be. Anytime throughout the game, but particularly finishing the game, he has to finish at the five. So, players are missing open jump shots. LBJ's and AD's offensive opportunities will be there as well if the Lakers are going to go with AD at the five, and then players are going to be hitting open jump shots. It's just going to create more offensive opportunities for both LBJ and AD. So, AD with what total? He had 9 shots this game. That's not enough, man. The coaching staff did not do a good job creating offensive opportunities for AD and taking pressure off him to get him in a position to score offensively, man. They got to do a better job. The coaching staff was very disappointing this game. They're very disappointing. So, hopefully they're going to improve going into the playoffs because these are glaring issues. Teams are going to use, of course, this as a blueprint. They don't have the same, obviously, personnel as the Raptors, but they're going to use this type of blueprint to try to stop the Lakers or beat the Lakers. There are some teams that have similar, or at least to a lesser degree, talent or personnel, such as the Raptors, but they're not as good as the Raptors defensively because of players like they have 2 defensive former players of the year, I believe, or players that are good in block shots, and Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka, and then Kyle Lowry is an underrated defensive player. And then Pascal Siakam, man, his length and his ability to guard 1 through 4. So you have those players all on one team. So the Raptors are very good defensively. Make no mistake about it, man. They're a team to be reckoned with in the East. Again, don't sleep on them. Tough loss, but learning lesson onto the next one. Monday versus the Jazz, man. Hopefully we can get a win against them. They've been struggling as well. Um, Hopefully the Lakers can make adjustments and start to hit open shots, man. Let's just hope. The coaching staff again, no, they cannot allow teams to nullify AD and completely take him out of the game just by doubling him. They have to do a better job and address that immediately. But all right, Laker fans, sign off in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this game, and let me know who you guys think should start in Danny Green's place. So we'll see how it goes, man. Disappointing loss, but sometimes you got to take L's to level up. It is what it is. We'll be back stronger and better, and hopefully with a W. I'm Tony on the Lake Show podcast, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.